Hello everyone, I'm Professor Toybox.
Hello, I'm Queen Elsa of Arendelle.
And today we're starting a brand new series, and we're going to be building a brand new toy box based on the Disney movie Frozen. With the sequel coming out in theaters soon, this seemed like the perfect time to do this series. And as we build this toy box, we're going to create a winter festival in Arendelle, and we're going to pack this toy box full of winter-themed games and adventures.
Perfect!
We may even set up a short story adventure about someone that tries to ruin the festivities.
Hey!
Don't worry, I'm sure they won't succeed. But before we get to all of that, we need a place to play. So to start with today, I'm going to show you how to build Arendelle Castle. Here's some screenshots of the castle from the movie. I want my castle to look just like this, so it's good to look at some pictures of it so we can try to replicate it as closely as possible. To build the castle and this toy box, you'll need three things: the two Frozen customization power discs, Frozen Flourish and a Chill in the Air, which provide the ground texture you see here, and the Skybox, and the Toy Box Speedway game, which provides a number of building pieces and set pieces that we need. One of the racetracks in there has a Frozen theme, and they built a lot of custom pieces in there that weren't previously available. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. The first thing is, I've already taken the liberty to set the skybox and the texture here by dropping my power discs down on the base. And it puts me by default with the castle on my left. And I actually think I'd like that behind me. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and move this little starting point here. And we're going to turn it that way. And we'll build the castle in front of us here, which will put the ice castle behind us. And so we'll go ahead and start with the front of the castle here. And most of the pieces we need are in building sets group 7. And we'll start with the base, that's the base of the castle along the front. And I'm going to start on the front left edge, because most of the castle flows kind of naturally from there, at least for me as I'm building this. And a lot of these pieces, this is a very unusual sized piece, and it's 2 blocks high, which most of the time things are 1 block high or 3 blocks. This tower here is only 1 block wide, but the bounding box around it is about 1.5 blocks, which kind of makes things a weird shape. And it's really difficult to try to line these pieces up, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this build. It's just not very intuitive. And so we're going to try to get this as close as we can. And that way you can see how to build this and put it together for yourself in your own toy box. And I'm going to put 2 of these on top of each other so that the tower tops will be above these parts here. So we'll put that one up there, and then just so it doesn't look too repetitive, we'll rotate it and put it like that, so it looks a little bit different. So there's the front of the castle. And I'm actually going to do one other thing here before we move on to the next side. I'm going to put this little porch here along the front and center it underneath the doorway here, about like so. And this block here will represent the ground, the water level, ice level. And then we got 2 blocks up to get into the main floor of the castle. And as we go along, you'll kind of see how this flows and why we're doing it this way. So we got the bridge later we got to put in and some other things. Oops. Let's see. Nope, I had it right. This piece comes here. I'm kind of following a little map that I had put together and drew out earlier that kind of laid all of this out. Again, as I had said, it's not real intuitive. There we go. And there's a door on this side of the castle, so make sure we account for that. feel free to pause this at any time if you're trying to build this in your own toy box. I don't want to spend a lot of time belaboring this, because I don't want to bore people with a video that's going to be too long. But on the other hand, I want to make sure you have a chance to see how to put this together. And we need a tower over here. And I'm using the round ones. The square ones might actually look a little bit better, but they're smaller, and the round ones are actually what we have in the movie, so I'm trying to stay as close as I can to what's in the movie, even if things don't quite line up the way they do in the movie. There we go, and that's that side of the castle. And I believe this is the door that Elsa flees out of when she runs out of the castle near the start of the movie and runs across the bay. Okay, now we'll work on the back side of the castle, which faces out into the fjord. As you can see, putting that tower in leaves kind of a gap, which is odd, but there's not really much I can do about that. There's also a gap in these blocks there. There's not much I can do with that either. So, but I think we'll get this looking pretty close, enough to where I think we can be happy with it. I saw a lot of early videos online using the Disney 1.0 and Cinderella's Castle. They were trying to make this, and I'm really glad for Toy Box Speedway they created some Frozen specific pieces in here, because this looks so much better to me. Okay, so that's the back side of the castle. Now we'll come over here to the front side, or the other side here. Now there's this little square tower area here, and it's kind of tall, so I need to make some space for this. Okay, and we've got another tower here, and I don't have, unfortunately, enough room here to be able to drop a second one of these down, so we'll have a bit of a gap here, but I don't think that'll be a problem, because the main house will kind of cover that up a little bit. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. And I forgot the top of this tower over here. So we'll put this on. And make sure it's not pointing the same direction as that other one. And there we go. So that's the castle walls. And I think that's looking pretty good so far. So now we'll go ahead and drop down. There's a kind of a stone building here that sits up on top of this, and I don't really have a building that will fit that exactly, so I'm just going to drop this down. And then under building sets group 6, we can kind of put a little decoration around the top of this. Some little stone walls that will kind of help finish this off a little bit, and it won't look too out of place. And these, even though they don't exactly match, they're pretty close. So I think we'll be okay using these here. There's a little bit of moss in between the stones, but I don't think we're going to really notice that as we're running around this toy box. We'll put a couple on this side, and a couple on this side. There we go. So that's the top of that. That looks pretty good. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and put a railing down here as well. Oops, I didn't move that up close enough. I thought I had that up next to the building. There we go. That's a little better. Move these pieces up. And again, I know this doesn't exactly match, but I don't really have anything else here I can use for a railing. I don't think that will look as good. Okay, there we go. Now we need to work on the interior, and for that we're going to need a floor first of all. So I'm going to come down to the building blocks here, and we're going to use this, and the floor is going to sit right inside here. And for this, the best texture I think we can use is the castle brick. Okay, and we'll exit Spark mode. I set that to be my theme. And now we'll just come in here and drop the floor. And I'll have to put some smaller ones in there, because if I try to put another one in, that's going to stick out. So we'll need some smaller square pieces. I'm not going to bother to try to put a block or anything under here, because we really don't need it. The floor is solid and stable enough without it. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward so you don't have to watch me putting all of this floor in. And I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I've got the floor in. So now we're ready to start working on the interior of the castle. And for that, we're going to start with the largest piece under set pieces, and that is the castle house itself. And for this, the front door should line up right with the gate of the castle. That's the way I see it in the movies. So we'll go ahead and make sure that lines up. And I think I want to leave enough room on the back side of the castle here where we can explore and do a few things. So that looks pretty good to me. And now we'll come down here, and the snowy chapel sits over here off to the side, about like so. And we'll put it back just a little bit. Good. And then we have the two fountains. And these, from what I saw in the pictures, come out about from the door of the chapel. Put one there, and we'll turn it so it looks a little bit different. When you're looking at it from certain angles, it won't look like a clone of the other one. And there we go. So that's the inside of the castle, and that's looking really good to me. Now, the next thing we'll do is we're going to put down some of these blocks here. I've already put a few over this way. So the castle wall extends over there, and it also extends off the back side of the castle here as the entrance to the harbor. And I'm going to go ahead and make the entrance 2 blocks wide. I'll take those 2 blocks out in a moment, and then it continues onward. So we can put the towers that mark the entrance to the harbor up here. Like so. I can take those out, and I'll extend that one later once I know exactly how far I want to do that. And around the front of the castle there are some rocks And I think the perfect texture to use for that down in the terrain drawer is this. And there's a texture I would love to use for the bay, for the ice, and you would apply it to the blocks like we did for the floor of the castle interior in there. Unfortunately, to fill an area the size I have envisioned here, that's going to take a lot of memory. So I'm actually going to use the Frozen Flourish texture for the ice, and we're going to use the Hoth texture from Star Wars for the snow. And so we'll put this down with the snow texture. And I think these will work nice for making it look kind of rocky around the wall of the castle. And then over on the other side as well. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then there's a slope that runs down from the castle over here. So we're going to need to come over here in the terrain drawer to put that down. And I think the tiny slope would probably work best. And just so we have one down and I don't have to scroll all the way back over here. There we go. So I'm going to use this little flat piece in here first. And I'll put some stairs up to that doorway here in a moment. There we go. That looks pretty good. And now we need some stairs. And that's kind of a bit wide for a single block. I think we'll do 2. Like that. There we go. And the last thing we're going to do today is put in the bridge. So come back up to building group 7. And it's really unfortunate, as you can see when I get this lined up, that the bridge doesn't actually sit at the 2-block height level. It sits a little lower. So there's kind of a drop there. It's really unfortunate that they did that. Some of their other bridge pieces line up nicely, but that one doesn't really, for whatever reason. The other thing we need on the bridge are the flags, and those typically sit on the railings according to the pictures that we saw. So I'm going to put them right above the arches here. There we go. That looks pretty good. I like that. And then offline, I think I'll do is put down some large blocks with the Frozen Flourish texture to kind of fill in the bay here and finish that off a little bit. And I won't force you to watch that this time. There's not really a lot to see there. You'll see the result when we do our next video. And next time we'll go ahead and fill out the town over here and put that in place. But for right now, we've got our castle, and I think that's looking pretty good. Starting to look a lot like the movie Frozen, and I like that. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel or sign up on my blog to see what we do next time in this series. You can find build tips and logic diagrams for the different toy boxes and challenges that we make as well. And for now, this is Elsa and I signing off from Arendelle, and we'll see you next time.